Crying Freeman is an interesting little beastie because I've wanted to review it for a long time, but the problem is that I'm legitimately not certain if I'm going to be allowed to post it anywhere. There's not enough cover otters in the world for this show. So let me take you back to a magical place called the 1980s. This was well before the internet and society at large realized just how peculiar media could be. So here we are in 1988, in the midst of things like Predator and the Iran-Contra scandal. Back then, men were men and women were wearing shoulder pads. It was a time when Arnold was getting serious movie offers and Van Damme thought Bloodsport was a good idea. It was a simpler time, a less ironic time. And in that atmosphere, Kazuo Koike and Ryoichi Ikegami both collaborated and whipped up Crying Freeman. And boy, do I wish it would have stayed in the 80s. Right out the gate, I see something a little weird. I can't speak for Ikegami's artwork in the original manga, but it looks an awful lot like he's just taking pictures of models and inserting them into the series. It doesn't look bad, it just looks odd. Something looks off about it. Maybe it's just the budget talking, but the combination of everyone being naked all the time and the way things are posed in just such a way makes me suspicious. It's not exactly an easy thing to pull off, and obviously the artwork has some merit to it. Since it looks good, and it moves pretty well, I just have to wonder how much of this is the artist's own skill, or just a very impressive ability to copy models near exactly. So our plotline is divvied up into 6 episodes of roundabouts an hour. They're all fairly separate from each other, but the whole thing gets started like this. Yo Hinamura is an assassin for the 108 Dragons, who are some sort of Chinese underworld society. They're exceptionally well equipped with weapons and hypnotists and a submarine that they all like to hang out on and forget to put on pants on. Seriously, the one reason that stopped me from just reviewing this straight out was all the nudity. It's constant and omnipresent. In addition to being hypnotized into killing people in the buff, he also cries after he gets done murdering them, because he longs to be a free man. And so we have a title. Cool. Alright, fine, there are dumber names for anime out there, but seriously. Yo is sent to go kill Emu Hino, who is just the ugliest fucking character. Seriously, she's got man jaw, she's got a 5-head, she wears glasses that she stole from Yoli from Digimon. Shocker, she's a virgin. Not like that means anything. But yeah, despite looking like she got hit in the head with a bat several times, everyone's very shocked that she's lonely and not married, and well, apparently Yo likes his women with lantern jaws and receding hairlines.
I love you.
Emu saw Yo kill someone, and that's a big no-no, so he has to go take her out. But somewhere along the telephone game to tell Yo what to do, apparently fucking kill her became fuck and kill her. So even though having sex with an actual emu would be much more enjoyable to watch, he gives in to her wish to get a good solid dicking before he kills her. But then he falls in love with her and takes her back to his submarine so they can get married and take over the 108 Dragons. He's got dragon tattoos, and he put some tiger tattoos on her, so it all kind of meant... Wait. Dragon? Tiger? Tora? Dora? You know, more than anything else, the biggest problem that I'm seeing with this right now is that as I'm trying to explain it, I keep thinking of poorly written fan fiction. Not that it's so bad, but things just happen because reasons, pretty often in this show. When it's really easy to explain this in the derpy teenager voice, there's trouble. Here, let me put it to you like this. Alright, so, like, there's this dude named Yo, and he's, like, an assassin. But he's, like, really sad, and he cries every time he does it, because he's, like, deep and stuff. So, like, he sees this girl named Emu, or, like, Emu, or, like, something like that, and she sees him kill somebody. But then, like, he has to go kill her, but she's like, no, please take me, I'm like a virgin and stuff, and he's like, alright, I'll fucking do you. And they like totally bang out. And then he like falls in love with her and they try to take over the world again. Yeah. The more detail it's immediately easy to put into a synopsis, the less nuance a story tends to have. This is not to say that nuance is a necessity for quality, but it sure as hell doesn't hurt. And you know, for someone who regrets killing people all the time, Yo seems to do it pretty dang easily. And if that's all part of the hypnosis, does anything he does actually stem from free will? Is his relationship with Amu actually real because he's hypnotized? Answers to all these questions and more, never to be answered adequately, because that would distract from all the sex and violence. Okay, so you and Amu take on new Chinese names and take over the 108 Dragons. Now there are people all over the place who want them dead because more reasons. And the first one is the kid of Mother Tiger. Holy shit. Boy, and you thought Amu looked mannish. This tubby bowling ball of a creature makes me wonder who okayed this whole ordeal to begin with. I'm almost irritated on behalf of fat people. And of course, because it's not enough to just have her be fat, she has to be ugly and obnoxious too. Now, I get it that it was the 80s and stock characters were perfectly acceptable because everyone was on coke, but god damn! Oh, and as an added bit of trivia, she was voiced by Dump Matsumoto, a lady wrestler. It's like asking Yokozuna to play a big fat dude that eats all the time in a movie. Anyway, Freeman fights one of her assassins and gets her on his side, and now she treats him like a big brother or something fucking weird. Ugh. This dude is surrounded by women who worship him. It's like an MRA's wet dream. He has no defining characteristics other than he occasionally looks sad, and then he, like, kicks the shit out of people. And it just continues on and on and on. Freeman meets someone who wants to kill him, who's inevitably female. They fall for him, and there's lots of nudity and gore, and then the episode ends. Kazuo Koike, who wrote Lone Wolf and Cub, got pretty famous for his unflinching depiction of feudal Japan. His stories had a lot of intrigue and a lot of blood and guts. This does not have the same resonance of that particular piece of work. But perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself. So once he solidifies power by just determining that he is the leader now, he gets into a battle with a group called the African Tusk, with their Amazonian warrior woman named Bugnug. I literally can't make this shit up. They fight. She falls in love with him. Problem solved. Good God. Again, I'm oversimplifying because there's a bit more to these than just fighting and fucking, but good God, not a lot. There's a whole lot of sexism and racism and a whole lot of other isms going on here, and I don't even really want to touch it. So somewhere in this endless cycle of fighting and fucking and fighting and fucking all over the place, there is a nominal story about Amu getting a sword and taking her clothes off because reasons. This happens so she can look cool, like, once. Otherwise, it's just Freeman murdering people and women with their busters out. It's just omnipresent. Why? I get the representation of bearing one's true self and disrobing being some sort of act of whatever. But when one of the antagonists is a woman who masturbates while Freeman fights her men, I don't think we're worried about what the fucking symbolism is here. What in the screaming hell? Is this it? Well, yeah, kinda. This has a very distinct flavor to it of the 80s style that doesn't really care. Not that they don't care about making a good product, but Freeman knows exactly what kind of story it wants to tell. Damn the consequences and damn the critique. To put this in perspective, in modern shows with a lot of fan service, there's a lot of teasing and playing around with it. And of course, most of the women look like weird little doughball creatures. Looking at you, Senran Kagura. With Freeman, there's no sorts of, haha, oops, saw you naked, or, oh no, someone looked at my what's-its. Just imagine a guy sitting in a smoke-filled room, stubbing out a cigar, saying, fuck it, get they tits out. There's a strange purity to this sort of thing, where they do, indeed, not give a damn if it's sexist or racist or whatever, because they just want to make their weird, schlocky, but also really dark story about a guy with no pants and murder and rape. It stands as a shining example of this testosterone-filled Arnold Schwarzenegger, hyper-macho, coke-fueled 80s bullshit, and really, few other examples of this sort of storytelling exist anymore. Basically, any criticism I could level at it is almost immediately deflected because the piece doesn't give a fuck. This series is so very, completely unself-conscious of what it is, so completely without irony or concern for what people might think that it's kind of refreshing. It's still awful, don't get me wrong, but it's still interesting as a piece of history. They really don't make them like this anymore, and I'm still on the fence if that's bad or not. Crying Freeman was successful enough to get a live-action film made out of it, which I'm led to believe is a movie. I don't know, it had Mark Dacascos in it. So there you have it. Crying Freeman is a piece from another universe that doesn't really fit neatly into the 21st century standards. It is a relic of a bygone era, one that most of us only kinda remember snatches of. What Crying Freeman can show is that, yes, the world has changed a lot since it was made. Whether that was a good or a bad change is debatable, of course, but the world that Freeman was created in and inhabits is a drastic departure from modern times. Even by the time it was finished being created, it was almost outdated. So while the dub is hilariously bad, the animation is stiff about 85% of the time, and the art style still has me guessing, Crying Freeman is important for people to watch, in the same way that fans of the action genre should watch Die Hard or Predator. You don't have to enjoy it, but you should be aware of it. It did have an impact, even if it doesn't look like it should nowadays. I don't feel like I can give it high marks, though, because I really didn't like large swaths of the show. The characters were repugnant, the plot lines were set dressing for fight scenes, and I found myself just kind of forcing my way through these shows. But for what it is, a schlocky gangland brawler, it does the job remarkably well. So if you have any further questions, I'll be sitting over here with my butt planted firmly on this fence. If you like what you saw, consider donating to my Patreon to get early access to all the new vids as they come out. And as always, thanks for watching.